Hello, and welcome to the Lighten Up Podcast with Lauren Polly, your invitation for living on the lighter side of life. I'm Lauren Polly, and I am delighted you've chosen to join me today for episode 144. When Overwhelm Hits Try this. Today we're going to go over my top 3 go-to tools for overcoming and out-creating overwhelm. Kind of that sensation that, oh my God, I just got way too much going on. My plate is too full, and if anyone adds one more thing, I'm going to lose it. I think a lot of us have this kind of issue going on episodically. We can watch our lives ebb and flow with it. Of course, there are always situations that take us by surprise and kind of relationship snarls that we hit and business and creative idea hurdles that we come across, or life just gets busier. We're pushing a creative edge, and before you know it, you just haven't given yourself the room to grow into that new sense of busyness that is here. It's also kind of interesting to look at because, yes, you can get the sense of where those acute overwhelmed periods hit and you go, oh my God, there's just too much happening, and see the repercussions of that. A lot of us are actually living our lives in this overwhelmed state day to day, though, where there is more of a chronic sense of like, I am just way too busy, I am way too full, and I kind of don't enjoy most of the stuff that's going on anyway. So unfortunately, it's kind of like pushing the edge all the time, but never actually taking the added step to grow into it. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. A lot of this overwhelmed conversation is quite a lie because it talks about this edge that you have that you can't go past. And so as soon as you start creating more, or you have more going on in your life, or you're trying to create something new for yourself, and it just seems like, oh man, I would really love to blaze a new trail there, have this creative project go on, or create that business, or get a promotion, or even develop a new relationship. My plate's already super full, so man, if I add one more thing on, how am I supposed to do that? I work with so many people who are really looking at creating something new and different for themselves, and this is the major blockage they have. They already feel like they've got too much to do, too much going on, too much they're responsible for. Their days are already hijacked, so to speak, where their time is spent taking care of other people, or doing things they don't really like to do anymore, but hey, guess what? It's bringing the money right now, so they have to keep doing it. Or they have responsibilities. They don't have the bandwidth almost to add in something more that will create a new and different change for them. So when I talk about this lie of overwhelm, this edge, this finite place you go to where, you just can't go past it. It's like it's kind of like having a container that has a stopping point where if you fill it over, you're going to overflow. You're going to explode. When actually it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way at all. We have the capacity to grow into, do and be and enjoy more. It just takes growing energetically into it, prioritizing a little and actually looking at what fills you up and what depletes you, and being able to kind of compartmentalize, but do it in a way that isn't kind of psychologically detrimental, where you're putting things in the basement and not looking at it. You're just putting things in their place and where they belong and in the correct ratio that they actually have in your life and your living. So with that being said, I want to kind of break apart those 3 things this week and see what we can bust apart to allow you to come out of the lie of overwhelm, out of that lie of I'm finite and I can't go past a certain point ever, and actually allow yourself to grow where you do have breathing room and growing room to start blazing a new trail for yourself, whatever that looks like for you. Number 1, I would invite you to start looking at your priorities. Where are you spending your resources? Now, resources, yes, we get the resource of time and we get the resources of money, right? Those are easy resources to kind of look at. What's taking up the majority of my time? Where's the majority of my money going right now? I'd like you to expand on that, though. Where is the majority of your awareness going? What's pulling your focus? What's pulling your attention? And also, where is the majority of your creative energy going as well? are the things in your life that are actually pulling your focus, pulling your energy, and also pulling your time and your money, the things that will create for you in the future? Or are you spending your resources on things that are not yours, don't really light you up, and aren't actually generating an energy that will continue to serve you moving forward? Now, this is a healthy conversation to be having constantly with yourself. Again, not in a judgment kind of way, but just in a way that actually gives you a little bit more clarity on where you're spending your time, your money, where your attention is continually being pulled, and where your energy is getting spent. Now, that last line is really important because when you're actually engaging with something and using your resources for something that lights you up and fills you up and is generative by nature, you won't actually be spending your resources. You will be utilizing your resources to create more. I would definitely be making a list and starting to look at where you are spending your time, where you're spending your money, what is pulling the majority of your focus currently, and where you are spending your energy. Are those things, one, creating for your future? Are those things that you light up? Are those things that are a definite yes for you? I want to continue to do that because I see what's coming from it. Or are there things that are pulling your resources and pushing you into this overwhelmed state, quote unquote, that are actually things that you'd like to say no to? You just haven't practiced the muscle to do it. What if you actually started that? I am currently working with a beautiful woman who is looking at starting a holistic healing practice, and in the meantime is working 9 to 5 at this other gig that she absolutely hates and really depletes her energy. It pulls her focus too much and it tires her body out, but it is the primary source of income that she has now. The conversations we've been having have been way more about how to dial it in so that you're actually spending more time on the thing that's going to build your future than on the thing that's going to constantly deplete you. So she's been so overwhelmed in this full-time gig that she has that she's looking at creating this business, but feeling so tired and overwhelmed that she doesn't have that pop to move on any of the things she wants to get her business off the ground. We started looking at how we could change the ratio of how much time she does spend at work. How could she be flexible with those hours, and how she could be different in that job, what energy she could be different, how much focus was she using that didn't need to be there, what was her point of view about it, to be able to save some of her resources, to have them to put towards the project that she truly wants to develop and have as her future. There is a way to actually work at this. You just have to look at where your resources are going now and start to prioritize them. Start to look at how much is going and how much maybe over giving in certain areas that don't actually need to be that, and how you could use that leftover reserve to create something new and different for your life. This brings up an example that I've been dealing with this last week. You can probably hear in my nose I've got a little bit of a head cold going on. I've been a little stuffed up and under the weather. My body's needed some extra rest. There's a lot going on at my hospital job. It's been very busy. I've got a couple business projects that are launching and kicking off. So my plate's just been more full than normal. It's kind of interesting because the stuff that's coming up at work in my 9 to 5 gig, I've had to have dealings with, let's just call them interesting personalities as of late. And it's fascinating because as soon as they hit, when my overwhelm, quote unquote, thing is going on, I'm a little bit more towards that edge and buying into that edge that we have. When those personalities hit and those engagements happen, it's like that person becomes larger than life. It's like that person becomes like the only thing that is taking all my energy, all my focus, all my awareness, and they are overtaking everything. What I started to do, and you can play with me here, is I started to compartmentalize it. But again, not in a way where I'm not looking at it or not including it, I'm just putting it in its place. So get for me right now, one person, one interaction, one thing that's going on that's pulling your energy, becoming dominant and kind of oppressing you a bit, making you feel a little bit overwhelmed and dealing with it. Get that energy of them being so big, they're like the massive elephant that is looming over you. Okay, shrink it. Actually take that person and go, you know what? The percentage you are in my business, my life, my job, whatever, you're actually only this part. Shrink them down to that part. Cool. And then now shrink them down even more, because if that person is in your job, they're not in charge of your own life. They're a certain percentage of that job, and that job is only a certain percentage of your life. So they're actually even smaller, and they sit over here. Any way you slice it and dice it, there are people who kind of aggravate and push you to overwhelm. There are those episodic and, again, acute situations that go, oh my God, it's so much. And it pushes us towards that lie of finiteness a lot. What you can do is start to compartmentalize them and go, nope, you're only this big and you belong in this part of my life. So you know what? When I'm not engaging in that part of my life, you're there. I'm not shutting a blank door on you, but I'm also not going to continue to feed you with my resources. I'm not going to waste energy on you. I'm not going to waste my focus and my attention on you. I'm not going to spend a lot of my time on you. You are where you are, and I'll get back to you when it's appropriate. Start to play with that trick as well when you're starting to deal with a lot of this overwhelm, and see if that shifts and changes anything for you. The last little trick is this trick of actually growing yourself. And again, this plays right in hand with that, like, overwhelmed, you have a finite thing, there's a cap on how much you can do and be and take on, when in actuality, we aren't finite, we're infinite. We have the ability to be and do more, especially when they're, again, things that are generative and light you up, and where you want to be spending your time and your money and your energy and your focus, right? What you can do is you can practice growing yourself. This is something that I practice all the time, growing that creative edge, growing the ability to be more, do more, have more. And FYI, if you've been looking at actually creating more money for yourself or up-leveling your life or your business, this is a huge one to practice, because most creatives, as they're going forward and growing their life into more, they reach this cap where they go, oh my God, it's too much. I actually am not capable of doing that much, and they start to stop themselves. Instead, you want to actually grow yourself even more. And that can look as simple as just asking yourself, you know what, grow. Get bigger. How much more can you actually take on? What are you buying here? Grow bigger. You can look at it in terms of a bandwidth, right? If you only have a certain bandwidth, there's only so much noise you can take coming in before you go into overwhelm and white noise at all. If you grow your bandwidth, grow your awareness that way, more information can come in for you to cipher out and know how to act and move forward with. Growing yourself, growing your edge is a process. We talk about that a lot on the show. It's one of the primary things I work with. I invite you, whenever this overwhelm hits, try that. Just ask yourself to grow. Take a beat, take a breath, and allow yourself to get bigger. Allow your bandwidth for what's going on in your life to grow. Practice the other two, absolutely. See where you're wasting your resources on things that don't serve you. And also look at compartmentalizing a bit, where you're spending your resources and getting overwhelmed because you're feeding it too much. Shrink them down and put them where they belong. And once you do those two things, then actually look at growing yourself even bigger. You are capable, we are capable of being, doing, and having more. We are capable of blazing new trails for ourselves, and one of the primary ways we stop that and stay stuck and stay limited is thinking that we already have too much going on, so there's no way I can take on the added work of growing something new, even though that something new would create so much more for me in terms of my quality of life and living. I invite you to play with this, and as always, if you are really and truly looking at diving deeper into this topic and more, and really looking at creating a new path for yourself, I invite you to hop on the Blaze Your New Trail program that is coming up March 11th. We're going to be diving into this topic dynamically, because again, it's one of the most stop points that I see with everybody. And also one of the growing edges you're going to continually run into. It's something I continue to look at. And because every time I'm growing and I'm creating more and more, there's that pressure that starts to build. People get a little bit too big. Situations take you by surprise. You start to feel a bit more overwhelmed. You got to catch yourself. You go, nope, that's buying into finite, and I'm not finite. I'm going to look at where I'm wasting my resources. I'm going to actually put things where they belong and not overspend on them. And I'm going to grow my creative edge so I can continue to move forward on my path, on my trail, as I choose. Enjoy this content. Break it down. As always, you can reach out to me at lauren@laurenpoly.com. And the link to Blaze Your New Trail, that beautiful 12-week program on this and more, the link for more information is down below. Enjoy, and as always, I will chat with you next Tuesday.